What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, welcoming you back to more Let's Play Pokemon Black and White 2. In the last episode, we made it here to Route 4, did battle with Colress, got all those Crustle to move out of the way, and we ended off the episode by adding our fourth team member, Challenger, the Braviary, named after the esteemed and very famous bald eagle who generally is known for flying over World Series events and presidential elections and things of that nature. I felt like we needed a very patriotic member of our team this time, and a true patriotic member of our team, not some cosplayer in that regard. However, there is one downside to Challenger, despite how overpowered he is this early on in the game. I don't love his nature very much. I think it's the worst nature we've drawn thus far. It's a mild nature, which raises special attack, which is a non-factor on Braviary, and lowers defense. Now, I think it would be worse if it lowered, if it was like a modest nature where it lowered attack or lowered speed or something of that nature. I'd be a lot more upset. But its hidden ability, we could do worse. I'm not going to wait for another Monday to see if I can track one of these down. It's fine. Challenger is more than good enough, especially for a standard single-player playthrough of what is otherwise a very easy Pokemon game. Now, we have more trainers to battle here. We have more places to go, and I'm going to go over those really quickly. Although not, can I stand it? There we go. Stand in your way. Thank you. But yeah, got that. I don't think I showed off Kamina's nature at any point either, my Eevee. She's got a bashful nature, which is a completely neutral nature, so just like Jack, no raised stats, no lowered stats, which, again, that's about as inoffensive as you can get in a typical Pokemon playthrough. It's a lot less viable in competitive Pokemon. You generally want to have something raised at the expense of something else. It's always a good thing. Having a neutral nature is usually what people say is a bad thing, but don't really care about it when I'm playing through Pokemon Black and White 2. So I'm good with it. And also, I believe I am about to actually get Tomoe to learn a new move here when she hits level 25, and that move is Water Pulse. Yes! Okay, so I flat upgrade from Water Gun in just about every way. 5 less power points for 60 more, or, well, a grand total of 60 base power, 100 accuracy, and the chance to cause confusion. So, much better than Water Gun. I will happily take it. I think I'll actually be using Tomoe quite a bit just because, well, first of all, where we're at, we're going to be going up against a lot of ground-type Pokemon and whatnot. So it makes sense. It's good to use her right now, but also because she is one of the only two unevolved Pokemon on this team, and I know for a fact that Kamina is going to be evolving before Tomoe ever does for reasons. In fact, fairly soon, here in a few episodes, actually. But I also have to say that we are not done adding team members yet, if you can believe it. This is going to be such a strange playthrough in that regard. We're probably going to actually be adding another team member today, or if not today, I don't know. I'll see how I can drag it. I might do it in the next episode. Just because it's not 100% necessary that I do it immediately, but I would like to get around to it just because it is going to be kind of helpful, especially because this Pokemon is going to be a lot more work to integrate into the team than Challenger is. Challenger is a piece of cake because he is stupidly overpowered. It's the trade-off I had to make. Obviously, it's not cheating. I don't think it's cheating because it's legit. You're allowed to catch a Braviary at level 25 this early on the game. Same in Black 2 with Mandibuzz, who I think is, unfortunately, a significantly worse Pokemon. Same base stats, but flipped offense and defense, so you're literally just getting the wall, while Braviary is the glass cannon. But honestly, not even that glass. It has some pretty decent defenses, so can't even say that. But at the same time, it's I didn't want to catch a Rufflet, especially because, one, Rufflets are only available extremely late in both games, honestly, and even then, once you get one, you still have to wait until you're in the mid-50s just to evolve them, and it's just stupid. It's not worth it at all. Wait, hold on. I want to read that again. If Pokemon are released and demonstrate their true skills, will we be used by Pokemon and battle for them someday? Are you into pet play or something, bro? Okay, that's weird. Every Monday, Pokemon fly here from somewhere. I believe this girl says the same thing about Thursdays for Pokemon Black and White 2, because that's when Mandibuzz shows up. And then this guy, you're a trainer with quick eyes, I'll give you these. We're going to get the Citrus Berries, which back in Generation 3 when they first came out, healed exactly 30 HP as opposed to 10 like Orange Berries. But ever since Generation 4, that has been changed to 25% of the Pokemon's base HP. So just a nice chunky healing. They're pretty much better than Orange Berries in every single way outside of the extreme early game, and you're usually not going to be getting Citrus Berries at that point anyway. We got another trainer here, and actually I think this will be the guy where I'll show off Challenger, assuming he has a fighting type, because Well, we haven't actually seen what Challenger looks like in battle, and I would like to do that. So, yeah. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I don't know. The way things are working out, and this is kind of just true with any Pokemon playthrough, I really end up weighing my teams towards a lot of what you can get on in the early games. I don't like really adding team members that you can't get for a while because, I mean, in when I normally play through a game, yes, I'll do that. But when I do it in a Let's Play, I'm not a fan of it because it's nice to get acquainted with the team members that we're using for most of the playthrough. And yeah, sure, the trade-off is that in the early game, most of the Pokemon that are available to you are a lot weaker. In fact, I would say Black and White 2 is one of the best games about this, about giving you lots of strong options in the early game. Because most of the time you're kind of saddled with Pokemon who never really achieve a base stat above 500 unless you're talking about your starters. I mean, this would change also in future games as well, but up to this point, yeah, you're kind of hamstrung going early. But I don't want to get Pokemon late because we don't get a lot of time to actually spend with them and, like, enjoy having them on the team and getting used to them and all that stuff. And especially this time around where I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently than normal, which, I mean, it'll make sense in due time. Yeah, it's going to be nice to be able to see everybody in action as much as possible. Okay, we are now technically in the Desert Resort, although this is not the large area of the Desert Resort. There is one new Pokemon that is available here that I haven't touched upon in a bio, but this is also the first time we have the opportunity to catch ourselves Maractus and Dwebble. But the new Pokemon to Black and White 2 is Sandshrew. However, I'm not going to go over the bio just yet. Oh, crap. I'm not going to go over the bio just yet because when we get into the Desert Resort proper, there is another new Pokemon that is available only in this area, and that Pokemon is Trapinch. However, I also want to add that this is also the only area where you can catch Sigilyph, which I did use in my original Black and White 1 playthrough, so just for clarity's sake. Anyway, let's go over Sandshrew and Trapinch specifically. Sandshrew is a pure ground-type Pokemon that evolves into Sandslash starting at level 22. This is a Pokemon all about physical, both offensively and defensively. You put it in a situation where that comes in handy and it will do pretty well for itself, but unfortunately it just isn't very versatile. With a low speed stat, terrible special defense, and some pretty terrible early moves from leveling up, it just isn't great for much. That said, Black and White 2 might be the first time where Sandslash does actually get some decent moves later down the line, with Earthquake, Gyro Ball, and Swords Dance allowing it to hit pretty hard, but none of this is something you can't get out of the other ground types available around here. Trapinch is a pure ground-type Pokemon that gains a Dragon typing when evolving into Vibrava at level 35 and again into Flygon at level 45. What makes this Pokemon a struggle comes down to solely training it. Trapinch is nothing like its evolutions. With extremely low speed, poor defenses, and a shockingly high attack stat, you'll be dragging this thing to level 35, where it will finally start to hold its own with an awesome typing and completely different stat distribution where its attack actually starts to go down in favor of speed. And finally, once it's a Flygon, it just becomes all-around excellent. Its typing alone is huge, but as its name suggests, it can also learn some non-stab flying moves to round out its coverage a bit better, while also getting access to some rock-type moves in order to deal with those pesky ice types that it's extra weak to. And even some really interesting TMs like Flamethrower, Solar Beam, and U-Turn. The versatility of this Pokemon is just fantastic, and unlike the Baneri and Grimers of the world, is every bit worth the pain it takes to get it there. You just gotta commit. Okay, and now that is done with, the first thing we're going to want to do is battle this lady right here. This is a nurse, and much like the doctor we met before, she is going to be our Pokemon Center for this area. After we've beaten her, we can come back and get healing anytime. Plus, her fight is extremely easy because all she has is a level 22 Cleffa, so I'm not going to complain about that at all. Now, there are hidden items all over this area, and I am definitely going to want to pull out the dowsing machine as we make our way through here. However, I probably should have done the same for Route 4, but I think I'll do that when we double back. I know that for a fact there's a couple in there that I definitely want to pick up. So we will. I'll do some searching around. There's some things in that area that I missed. We're not quite done with Route 4, I promise. We're not going to just immediately make our way over to Nimbasa once we're done over here like we did in the first game. Okay, now is the time for me to get my repels going. These are going to be, I'm just going to use the rest of them in this area. And let's also get the dowsing machine out as we go through here. Came out to clear the desert terrain, but it would be so much easier to proceed if I had a water-type Pokemon. Well, I'm sure it would. Good thing I have one. Okay. We got an item right here. Get ourselves a star piece. Not bad. We got another item up there that, like I said, they're everywhere, all over the place in this area. We're going to need to keep an eye out as we go. This lady is going to pick a fight with me, though. And like I said, Tomoe is just going to kind of shine in this area in particular because the next area we are going to, Tomoe is actually not going to get any action whatsoever. So I would very much like to give her as many opportunities as possible right now. The other person I actually want to get working on is Jack, though, because I would really like him to get to level 29 before we battle the next gym. I would really like to. If I have to use one of my rare candies, I will. Actually, I might only have the one rare candy right now. I could be wrong about that, but that is very, very possible. I think there's another one in this area, though. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Honestly, I might be thinking of the first game when I say that out loud, but... yeah, I want to get this item right here, which is right next to you, blue shard. I really hope I can actually get a sizable number of shards as I continue going through the game because, well, the move tutor system in this game is very restrictive. You really just need the shards to make them work. However, you need a lot of them. But the move tutors that do give you moves based on those shards, they give you some really damn good moves. And I would very much like to have access to some of those for my team members once we get to that point. Also, for anybody who is asking why I still have Nibbles in the party, I think I'm just kind of content with keeping him here until we need to add our 6th team member, and then I'll probably get rid of him. So he can just hang around for a little while, especially because the longer I can prolong teaching Cut to Challenger, the better. Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be giving it to him. I don't really know who else I'd give it to. Kamina wants to learn the move Takedown. I'm actually going to say no to this, even though it is an upgrade for what she currently has. There's a very specific reason I don't want her to learn Takedown, and it'll make sense once we actually evolve her. So, yeah, speed is crucial to treat a burn. We get a Rossberry. Nice. I will happily take that. There is another Ranger around here somewhere. That's probably going to also give us one. The main reason they're giving us Rossberries is because Darumaka can be found in this area. Get ourselves a yellow shard here. Not bad. And actually, I will say this as well. Ooh, soft sand. Thank you. There is our ground type boosting held item. Not bad. Thank you very much. Okay, we got a Psychic over here. I'll battle you next. But yeah, our very first evolutionary stone that we could use to evolve Kamina can actually be found in this area, by the way. There's a Firestone around here. I am not going to be turning Kamina into a Flareon, though. I was actually super tempted to. In fact, in my original draft of this Let's Play, that was my intention, was to have a Flareon. But I ended up actually going back on that idea. For reasons that will be much more apparent later on in the playthrough, because I'm kind of in a bind here because Black and White 2 has so much diversity in the sort of teams you can assemble in this game that it's really hard to just kind of settle on one, at least for me anyway. And even Black and White 1 had that issue because there were a lot of great Pokemon I really wanted to use in that playthrough, like Reuniclus and Levani and all these other different ones I really wanted to try and incorporate, and I just didn't have room for them with everything else that I was doing. I think the only Pokemon I kind of regretted using was Caracosta, but even that, I was just like, I don't know. The team was just it's so hard to finally craft one when there's just so many great options in these games. And Black and White 2 has that problem almost to an even worse degree because you have all of those great Gen 5 Pokemon plus new ones. And so I wanted a nice balance of new and old in this playthrough, and it's just... there's so much to go over, but there's just some quintessential Gen 5 Pokemon I really wanted to make sure I didn't miss. And yeah, that weighted a lot in my thoughts when it came to team building. I'm going to grab this item over here first as we kind of run over it. Get ourselves a ground gem. Not that I really want one of those. I don't really care about the gems too much in this game. Let's see if I can avoid this guy and grab the item first. Get ourselves a red shard. Okay, now I will battle you, sir. And then we can continue. And obviously we have Relic Castle in here as well, which we are going to be working on in the next episode. And I think, based on the time right now, I'm thinking we're probably going to grab a couple more things and then call it an episode. I think what I'll do is I'll actually start the next episode going after our new team member, which, given the Pokemon that I mentioned that are new to this area, there's not a ton of options there, obviously. I mean, think about all the new Pokemon in the Desert Resort. You've got Maractus, you've got Dwebble, you've got Sandshrew, you've got Trapinch, and you got Sigilyph. Narrow that down. Who am I going to be adding to my team? I guess you will find out in the next one, but this is just kind of my little teaser now before we obviously scoop the guy up next time, but I'm obviously going to need to get rid of my repel before we actually do that. Right there. Super repel. Okay, cool. I'll take more of those. I haven't even started using those yet. Thank goodness for that. Then we also got another item here, a heart scale. Can be good, especially for certain Pokemon that evolve through stones but get added learned moves as they go. As a desert. Oh, I thought you were going to be the ranger. It's been a year since the day my internal treasure detector went off, but I still haven't found any yet. I'm still following my dream, though. And I'm having so much fun, I can barely stand it. Oh, we got a Fun Fest mission. Okay, cool. Take that for the Interlink if you want that. I'm gonna say yes one more time, and I think what we'll do is we'll end the episode by grabbing this item and battling this psychic right here. I think that's the perfect idea. Then we can be good. Okay. Very productive episode, I would say, even if most of it was just battling trainers, because this is a very busy area. It takes a while to get through this entire thing. But what I love about Generation 5 is that there are almost no areas that are too beefy, that there's no routes that, like, overstay their welcome, like, at all. Like, I think back to Generation 3 and the water routes out by Moss Deep and Sotopolis. I think to Generation 1 and, like either direction heading down to Fuchsia City. There's so many examples of this. Generation 4, the path to Snow Point, that one just takes way too long, the snow path. I mean, there's so many options of this in so many games. Even some of the later games have this problem. This game doesn't. Every single route, I mean, this is probably the worst quote-unquote area, but it's still not that bad. Like, you've got a route and then a slightly extended area that you honestly don't even have to go into. This entire desert resort is completely optional. And, yeah, it's really not that complicated. It's pretty simple, and you actually get some really good training in here, especially because the next gym is quite a considerable leap in difficulty, I would say, compared to what we've been going after before. But all right, everybody, that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Play Pokemon Black and White 2. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this episode very, very much, and I'll see you all in the next one.